Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ronke and I love to create content on travel, career, and tips for general living. I know that I literally just said I create content on travel, but I'm not really keen on traveling for the rest of the year, and in this video I'll get into the reasons why. I will put a disclaimer out there that yes, I actually have already traveled a bit this summer or this year, so I do have some content that I'll be uploading probably after this video, but for me, I'm comfortable not doing travel, specifically air travel, for the remainder of the year. There's a lot of different issues going on right now with the airline industry that for me just don't really make it compelling to want to travel. There are staffing shortages, whether it's with the pilots, the attendants, the desk agents. There are a lot of shortages that different airlines are facing, and as a result, they're canceling flights like no man's business. Some airlines do a practice called overselling, and so what that means is, hypothetically, you have a plane of about 150 seats. They'll sell about 155, maybe 160 tickets, and then the rationale behind it is that if people cancel, if they reschedule, if they miss their flight, you're able to still maximize your profit because there's only, you have a few people that probably did it, but you're still making sure that your flight is as full as possible. In theory, it makes a lot of sense. But in reality, it doesn't quite work so well, because what now happens when everyone shows up and no one is necessarily willing to get into another flight, that's when some issues start happening. So I've actually been in a position before where I believe my flight was oversold and they were offering like $5,000 vouchers. Now, granted, it's a voucher that you would have to use with the airline, but baby, $5,000 is a lot of money. And it was with Delta, and Delta flies to enough places for that $5,000 to matter. The only reason why I did not take it was because I was traveling with the group. But had I been traveling by myself, I probably would have taken it. One thing in particular that a lot of airports are actually dealing with are long check-in lines. And, I do think as well that the staff shortage also contributes to this. But you also have a lot of people who have not traveled within the past couple of years that are now traveling this year, this summer, whatever it is. And I think it is putting a strain on the travel system. It's not bad, but for whatever reason, the airports just have not quite figured out how to streamline things and make things as smooth as possible. And so I've seen many videos of airports in Atlanta, London, all over the world really, where they are having extremely long check-in lines, like lines that are taking you 5 hours to get through. Another issue that I know a lot of people are also having right now, and this is probably more on the airline side, are the lost or delayed luggage. And this is particularly if you are checking a bag or if you're ultimately forced to check a bag. Yes, you can pack a carry-on. Yes, you probably should pack a carry-on at this point this summer. However, the important thing to keep in mind is that even if you pack a carry-on, if for whatever reason, let's say you're one of the last people to board, you're one of the lowest, you're on the lower priority tier, you can still be forced to check your bag. For me, when I travel, one of my favorite parts is actually getting to go to the lounges. And yes, there's a part of it that's bougie girl inclined, but realistically, for me, it's also about experiencing the different lounges. I think lounges tend to have a bit of character, right? The lounges are crazy. They are packed. They have waiting times. They are running out of food. Like, these lounges are not, it's not giving what I normally get out of it. And I'm not trying to be that person that's like, oh, there's too many people here, they need to let less people in, or anything of that nature. But once again, just because you have so many people traveling, you also have so many people accessing a lot of the same resources. And so for me, the lounge, it's becoming less of a chill experience. It's still a chill experience, don't get me wrong, but it's just not the level of chill experience that I'm looking for when I travel. Finally, there's been a spike in COVID. And don't get me wrong, this is not the first spike in COVID, whether in the US or in any other nation, but I think that a lot of the travel rules have also become very relaxed as concerns COVID, including, testing as well as wearing masks. And for me, even before people started wearing masks, I already felt like some people just didn't have the best, didn't have the best manners in terms of covering their mouth when they cough, when they sneeze, etc., etc. But, with the fact that there's actually a COVID spike right now and people still don't have the right manners, I don't really feel comfortable. I mean, because you literally will be on a plane with people and they're coughing, mouth fully open, didn't cover their mouth, not using hand sanitizer, nothing. I just don't feel comfortable with that. I think if there were a spike, but there were still rules in place for folks to wear masks, you know, for people to do PCR tests, whatever the case is, I would feel a bit more comfortable. But now it literally feels like the Wild West and people are just kind of doing whatever they want. Now I know I've laid out a lot of different things that for me are just making travel really ghetto right now. But if you still want to travel, there definitely are ways to work around a lot of what I've listed out. I will say when it comes to the shortage of pilots and attendants and all of that, there's not really much that you can personally do. That really is the role of the Federal Aviation Administration and the airlines to actually sort out. But with some of the other issues, there are ways around it. When it comes to long check-in lines, obviously one thing you can do is to get there very, very early. So getting to the airport much earlier than your flight. Another option is to possibly reach out to someone who's traveled through the airport recently just to get an idea of how fast or slow they're moving. You may also be able to actually access the airport's website and see that information or call the airport. Nonetheless, like I said, I would still recommend just getting there extremely early. Bring some snacks, bring some entertainment, whatever you need to bring to be comfortable, bring it just so you know that you're sorted. With the lost and delayed luggage, I would really try to pack as light as possible. If you absolutely have to check a bag, I know a lot of people are recommending putting air tags in your bag just so at least you know where it is. But I would just, once again, recommend packing as light as possible, packing a carry-on, packing a book bag, however light you can pack. And even if you can't pack that light, at least make sure that the most important things are within the item that you will absolutely probably keep with you. Another thing to keep in mind is that different airlines do have different policies. So this is a time where if for whatever reason your bag is delayed or lost, this is a good time to go crack out that policy book, grab a magnifying glass, start reading the fine print and understand what benefits you have or, you know, different things that they can do to at least alleviate the burden on you. With lounges, so there are some lounges that are airline specific, some that you might get in through a priority pass, whatever the case is. I definitely think I would still try to get into a lounge, maybe put your name on a waiting list if there is one. But this might be a time where you just have to be comfortable finding a place in the airport that's not as busy and maybe just getting food on your own. Ultimately, you want to make sure that you're making the most use of your time. And so waiting around at a lounge trying to get in and not getting what you actually need out of the wait, for me, isn't necessarily the best experience. So just think through some alternatives that you might want to do. You can also try to see other lounges in the airport if they are available. Keep in mind, though, that if you are not a member or if you don't have a benefit to get in, you probably will pay. And so in terms of the spike in COVID, unless you have some secret vaccine antidote for COVID that we don't know about, I would just recommend following safe guidelines, right? So first, please make sure that you are vaccinated. Second, please make sure that you are wearing a mask. And as much as possible, avoid touching surfaces. So on a plane, obviously there are some surfaces you have to touch. For me, I personally like to use some Clorox wipes as soon as I get on the flight. Before I even sit down, I wipe my seat, I wipe the seat belts, I wipe the armrests, I wipe the tray tables. Like, I wipe as much as I can, especially the things that I know that I might absent-mindedly touch, right? So I try to wipe as much as I can. I keep hand sanitizer on me. I wear a mask and I try to keep the mask on. And even with the mask that I wear, I know typically the recommendations are like the N95, the KN95, I think KN94. Those tend to be the more stronger masks. And so that's actually what I wear for air travel. I do not wear the cloth mask. I don't do the bandana. I wear what I know is highly recommended to wear for air travel. So there are ways around it. Of course, you cannot be 100% too safe because you can still wear a mask and get COVID. So just please keep that in mind. But there are ways, once again, like I said, to at least mitigate the risk and try to keep yourself safe. Now, as I've said, for me, I've already had some experiences this summer with travel where I'm just a little burned out. But if you have not gotten to travel yet this summer, if you have not gotten to travel yet this year, please feel free to do so and plan it well. Make sure you're taking the right precautions, and above all, have a wonderful time. Please let me know if you have any crazy travel experiences so far from this summer, just based on everything that's going on. Otherwise, please make sure to like this video, share with others, and subscribe to my channel for more travel, career, and lifestyle content. See you next time.